All right, all right, all right. Uh, welcome, everyone. In the interest of time, since we're getting started just a little bit late, I'm going to go ahead and get us kicked off here on the next panel. So, my name is Ryan Haggerty. I am with the PRN. I actually help lead the Deep Tech Institute for Learning and Innovation. And essentially, we are going to be launching some new programming through PRN next year in 2026. It's really focused on leadership development and deeper business literacy for a lot of technical talent within the companies, as well as some of this early career talent that's in the building with us here today, who's really hoping to learn more about the sector. And Pittsburgh Robotics Network, as Jen alluded to earlier this morning, has really been able to bear witness to and work with a lot of our companies here in the region and see their growth, which has been an amazing thing to witness. And now a lot of them are growing headcounts and moving way beyond the startup phases and pilot phases into scaling and becoming real businesses. And with that, we have growing pains that are real challenges. So when you think about that, that's having new departments, being able to generate revenue, being able to understand the business model and a lot of things the last panel was talking about. And as we get to talk to some of our guests today, I think they'll agree with me that technical talent is maybe not always the best at approaching the business model and or managing the humans, even though they're really great at working on the technical solutions. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and prompt my panel here with the first question and give them an opportunity to kind of introduce themselves, their companies, and as well as the industry vertical that they currently serve, and maybe share something that's a little bit unique about your approach to engaging them as a business when you really have to think about the industry vertical as a customer or a client. So we'll just kind of go down the row here and start with you, Dr. David.
Sure. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. My name is Dave Galati. I'm the co-founder and CTO of Titan Robotics. So at Titan Robotics, there we go, we build intelligent robotic systems that do artisanal processes. So our goal is to give workers with very limited training and no robotics expertise, robotic systems that can do the process as a tool. They can use the robot as a tool to do these dull, dirty, dangerous processes. Our principal area is defense. We do a lot of work in defense, and it might come as a surprise, but contractors are not well regarded in the defense community. So one of the most important things that we found is that we have to build trust and build relationships. We say that we deliver deployments, not demonstrations. So it's not enough for our robots to just be able to do a task. They have to be trusted to do the task by the people on the ground. We also have a full stack robotics team, so we have expertise at every single level.
Thank you.
Awesome. Hi, I'm Deepak Jayaraj. I'm the VP of Hardware and Manufacturing at 4Growers. We build robots for harvesting. So we start with harvesting tomatoes, primarily in greenhouses. We are also moving into analytics that give farmers and the growers some feedback on like what they're growing, what can they do to make things better. So we've been in the business for a little while. We've been deployed around the world in a few farms. And as Dr. David also talked about, there's a lot of unique things when you think about like in a greenhouse, in a very unstructured, organic environment, right? There's a lot of things that you cannot really control like in a factory floor. So you have to make sure that we are understanding and empathetic to the environment, at the same time empathetic to the workforce and the people that's working and doing it. So you have to make sure that that's not a demo that works once. It has to work all day, every day, and they should be able to rely on that, right? So a cool demo can win you applause, but actual purchase orders require reliable systems. It's something that we still strive to do all day, every day. And we are out of Pittsburgh. Our co-founders came out of University of Pittsburgh, and we've been in the business for a few years here.
Thank you.
Hey, everyone. I'm Ben Schmidt. Today, I'm running a company called LoopBot.AI. It's very early. I like to think of it as Duolingo for corporate training. So training kind of sucks for both employers and employees, and so trying to work on ways to use LLMs and some other AI tools to create a better training experience. Before that, I was the CEO of Robotics, and a few years ago, we were acquired by Michelin. That company we took from spin out to CMU all the way through a couple rounds of venture capital, and then ultimately selling it, getting acquired, and then sort of post-acquisition. And so talk to Ryan about kind of the experience from one or two people in a co-working space all the way up to many more people doing lots of specialized roles and the different pain points along the way as you have to tackle new challenges and find new challenges. So yeah.
Yeah, so as you can see, we have a pretty wide range of industries being served, as well as approaches to thinking about how do you actually take the tech and turn it into a business to engage with them in the real world. And this is kind of tying together maybe the last two panels between the business discussion and some of the talent discussions that were happening earlier. But when you're really thinking about it, what are some of the pain points that have to be addressed? Perhaps as Ben alluded to, as you grow beyond the startup phase, you have some revenue on the line. You got to meet the bottom line now for your technical talent within your company to really understand as a sector professional and become a real contributor to the uniqueness of your business operations.
Oh, sure. So just come as no surprise, but for robots are a little bit easier than people to deal with. So you can tell a robot what to do, but you have to convince a person to do the thing. So one of the things that we found growing a robotics company, since we've been entirely organically grown, so we haven't had any VC funding, we've had to be self-sufficient for the last 10 years, is that you can't implement the thing that you want the company to be eventually. You have to grow the organization, grow the company, grow the technology stack.
So robots are complicated, humans maybe a little bit more so?
Oh, much, much more complicated.
And then, yeah, we can go ahead, Deepak.
It's a great point. We always think about, so when you're starting, you're a small startup, we hire the best technical talent, right? They are engineers who are brilliant at what they do. But as the company starts growing, your perspective changes a little bit, right? It's not just one part or one product. It's about how does it interface with the rest of the system. There is reliability, there's manufacturability, there's regulation. So initially when the early team members who just wants to design something, put out their cool part out there, it's a shift in their perspective on like, now I need to start be aware of what's a business aspect of it, right? A technical decision is not just a technical decision anymore. You have to start seeing, okay, from a fundraising perspective, how does it affect the customer? How does it affect my manufacturing, assembly technician on the floor? So that perspective, that shift is something that people have to intentionally be aware of, and as leaders, we try to bridge that gap. Give them that context. Sometimes you're there in your computer, in your CAD, working on something. You might not be thinking too much about, hey, somebody at 2 a.m. in the morning in the Netherlands trying to fix this robot. What would they think about this, right? So that I feel like it's something that has come up, and a lot of companies are investing in it, and the team is intentionally trying to get better at that.
Nice. And really, when we're thinking about meeting those customers and clients in the real world, there's either an existing solution that's continually being refined, or thinking about what are some new opportunities to get solutions out there to further serve them. So with that operation of being a business and having to adhere to certain constraints, maybe some of the technical talent is risk averse within that. Because if the money runs out, that means that jobs don't exist, other things happen to the company. So when you're thinking about how do you encourage technical talent to both be a risk taker and have an environment where they can do that, but also be accountable within that process of taking risks so that you ultimately come up with better solutions that really serve your customers?
I guess I'll go because I didn't get the last one. So I think there's two pieces to that for me. The first one is making sure that the goals are the same, right? So if you're technical teams, right, and I'm technical by background, I'd much rather tinker and play than I would sell something. But if your technical teams know that it's a business, this isn't a research team, right? We're not just doing it because it's interesting or we want to throw money at the problem. We have to sell something. We have to solve a problem. If they know that, and then if you take the approach that everyone's going to try their best for that, right? The rest of it is just randomness. So you have to focus on trying all the variations you can, seeing if they work to tackle the goal, which is not a technical goal. It's not, did this work effectively? Did I introduce a new feature? Who cares? Does your customer care? Does it change your market? Does it make your processes better? This is a business. We have to make sure that our goals are always oriented towards the customer and solving their problems. Technology is just the means we do it with. We have to solve a problem. And if we lose track of that, it doesn't really matter what you do.
Yeah, and just following up on that. So now they kind of maybe know the assignment. So how are you creating that space, Ben, where they feel okay to try something new that they've never done before, or perhaps try to work on a problem nobody has solved before, while still being accountable to what you just said?
Sure. So I think everybody has different approaches. Mine is humor. I mean, I will tell you how many times I've screwed up on exactly what I screwed up with, and whatever. You're going to screw up too. That's okay. And if you just kind of approach with like, we're going to do our best, we're going to attempt to try to hit this goal, there's not a lot more we can do than our best, so let's have fun with it. And that's my approach. I think there's other strategies, but if you don't create that environment, or you create an environment where people are afraid to tell the truth, or they're afraid of the mistakes, or they're afraid they might fail, this is quite honestly the wrong business line, right? Go pick a much larger company, get away from startups, venture capital, right? Like, go to that. This is an environment where you will fail. That's just going to happen. That's okay.
Absolutely. Treat people like a human, and they'll operate like a human. And then Deepak, what does that look like in hardware?
I think from a hardware perspective, a lot of risk is, at the end of the day, it comes down to financial risk, right? So we really want to move fast, break a bunch of things, but if the things cost $10,000, we cannot really do that too often. So how do you manage that risk from a perspective of, okay, from an R&D early stages, try to be as creative as you can, experiment, move forward, but when you get to production, make sure that you're doing the right things the right way and not really trying to find new things. And I think there's a psychological safety, right? At the end of the day, I think extreme ownership. So you own the outcome. At the end of the day, you are not just designing a part. To what Ben was talking about, you're owning the outcome. So things might work out, things might not work out. It's okay, as long as you learn as the owner. You make sure that you come up with a way to either solve it, or at the end of the day, you'll learn. There's the learnings that you spread to the rest of the team. It's okay, we can get through it. But building that sense where they are not going to get fired, or somebody's going to rain hell on them, if something goes wrong, it's very important to make sure that the team understands. But again, be responsible,
Yeah, and Dr. David, whether it's defense or the fact that you guys kind of, from the word jump, were operating more like a business and less like a startup, what are some of the risks there, and how have you encouraged them to, or what is the risk, and how have you still encouraged your talent to try new things within those risk factors?
Robotic systems are inherently very complicated, and they're such that no one person can understand the entire system as a whole. So it requires a lot of trust and a lot of communication. When you're bringing people on, you have to, if you're giving someone something that they've never done before, you have to give them the support, but you also have to let them fail. It has to be okay, because
yes,
if they're in a situation where they have to succeed or else bad things will happen, you're not going to get honesty, and if you don't have honesty, you can't get the right solution.
No, I appreciate that. Even thinking about within these programs we're starting, I think that's one of the things that's been the hardest with adults, is making it okay to be uncomfortable when you're learning something new is definitely a big part of it. So I have two more questions here for you. Really, when we're thinking about commercialization has happened, now you're actually engaged with clients as a business, things still change over time. So whether it's the customer needs, the market, the technologies, which we're all hearing about today, you as leaders within the companies have to kind of give that vision, give the direction, and disseminate it across to all these different people. So what is maybe one way that you help convey as the direction shift, as the business plan maybe pivots a little bit to the technical talent, so that they're adhering to it and helping incorporate that into their decision making?
So I would say one thing tying those 2 points together is that the business will similarly undergo this uncertainty and failure and experimentation. I do think sometimes, technically speaking, or with a technical mind, we assume the business side has got that. Or that, like, why aren't you selling it? Clearly this is what you need to do, right? Like, the sales and technical are always sort of at each other's. But I think the idea that, like, the business will also evolve is important. That is also going to undergo iterations and changes and variations for the same exact reason. Nobody knows it, it's too complicated, nobody knows the whole thing. So I think if we can buy into this idea that the whole thing is a series of experiments, that's how we can kind of move forward with the business side too, not just with the product.
Absolutely. And then any tips, Dr. David or Deepak, on how do you kind of bring the talent on board to convey the message of the change that's happening?
Yeah, a lot of times, as Ben talked about, most of the time when we're changing or going in a different direction, it's mostly coming from either a financial limitation or a market limitation, right? Either we have to reduce the bill of materials cost, you have to add a new customer feature, you have to meet a goal to raise the next round of funding. So at the end of the day, as long as you're being transparent enough to convey that to the team, because most of the time, and we are working with really smart people, right? If you give them the context, if they're trying to make them understand why are we doing what we are doing, it's much easier to win them over. Sometimes it might take, there's this frustration, I've been working on this for 6 months, 1 year, and you're saying that I'm going to start doing something else. So being that empathetic part, as we talked about, things change. Unfortunately, if the business, everything was figured out, or the sales, everything was figured out, life would be easy, right? We make a decision, we have a 10-year plan, and nothing changes. But in the real world, that doesn't happen. So do as much as you can to be transparent, trying to give people the context, people who are not talking to the customers or looking at the financial aspects, give them like, why are we doing something that we are doing? And in the past, I've noticed that it's much easier to win them over. They become the partner to help you solve that problem.
And then just kind of coming up on our final question here, this is maybe getting a little bit more personal, but you all as leaders, whether it's as the CEO or founder or the VP of hardware, you're really steering a big part of the ship, and you yourself have your own pressures and anxieties about the decisions you're making. So what are some of the ways that you can continue to develop yourself as you take on these unknowns and maybe try to approach problems that nobody else has had to solve yet, to really help yourself kind of keep that level head and develop yourself as a leader? Dr. Dave?
Sure. So we are doing things that no one has ever done before, but in a lot of ways, the path the company has taken is certainly, every single company goes through very similar phases. So one of the things that we found is that don't assume that you are the smartest person. Someone else much smarter than you, much more experienced, has already done this. Look to examples. Look to someone who has figured out how to run this accounting system, how to run this inventory system, and do what's best practices. Don't try to invent your own thing.
Yeah, and Deepak, any words of wisdom?
Typically and as I grow through my career too, there's a lot of unknowns from other departments, or like how does your decision affect somebody else? So a lot of times that what I've tried to learn or try to understand is, again, make the best decision you can with the information that you currently have. It might not be the correct decision, that's okay, but at least are you thinking through where I am making this decision, how does it affect, say, the ERP team, the sourcing team, the supply chain team, the finance team, the marketing team, right? A lot of times when you go through that, make the best decision you can, trying to see where that falls, try to get that feedback. There's a lot that, because again, whether you want it or not, as a leader, you're making a lot of decisions that sometimes you just have to because there's nobody else to do that. And to get that feedback helps. At the same time, even talking to the team, right? Again, going to a book or reading and understanding and self-development is one thing, but people are on the floor talking to the field technicians, talking to the engineers who are struggling with the problem. So try not to be as abstracted as possible, because sometimes when the company grows and you're taking on a leadership role, you have a large team, right? You're not there all day, every day to talk to the team, trying to see what's going on. But doing your level best to insert yourself there, to learn and understand, like hands-on, what is going on, what is happening, so that even when you're making the next decision, you have all those things in mind, rather than you being in that silo and just assuming and hoping that probably that's how things are working.
Thank you. Yeah, and Ben, you love this so much, you decided to start all over again as a leader from the startup phase. So is this how you develop yourself?
Yes. This time I won't make any mess ups. That's not true. So I think your point is a good one. I think there's a couple different things for leaders, or at least the way that I've approached it. For me, one of them is try to limit your unforced errors. Forced errors, try to do better. Unforced, really try to never make those, right? That's entirely your fault, right? Do a little bit better, think through it. How can you do that? Well, I think the next one, and there was a good friend of mine that really always throughout our start, we've been at 3 startups now. His view was always to think about this from every problem. Will this matter in 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, 5 months, 5 years, right? And you will find that if you go through that exercise, most of your problems don't get past 5 minutes or 5 hours. And once you sort of realize that, it makes the unforced error problem kind of disappear for a lot, right? Because most of your unforced errors are moving too fast or making the wrong move, thinking you need to move. Take your time. This won't matter, or this will matter in 5 years. Take your time. This won't matter in 5 minutes. Oh, who cares? Just make a choice and move. And I think that's really important. Time.
Time. Speaking of time, we are running short on time, so we don't have time for questions today, but I know Ben and Deepak should be around this afternoon if you want to engage with them further. Titan Robotics does have a booth. Do you remember the booth number?
226.
Thank you, Dr. David. I'm going to be in the DTI studio, which has the lights right over here. But with that said, I'm very grateful to our panelists today, you all for coming out to check out these talks, and everyone for supporting Discovery Day. And next up, we're actually wrapping the Humans Behind the Robots panels. SKA Robotics is coming up to do a live drone demonstration, so stay tuned. Thank you.